Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the source material you've shared, maybe articles, notes, big excerpts, anything really,
Yeah.
and we really dig in. We pull out the key insights for you.
Yeah, kind of give you the shortcut to getting up to speed, maybe with some surprising bits you didn't expect.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into a fictional world, but one that feels, incredibly real. The novel The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. We're working only from the excerpts you sent us.
Right, so that includes bits of the story, dialogue, what characters are thinking, even those old school gossip column snippets. And our mission, let's call it, for this deep dive is to look at these pieces and figure out, okay, what jumps out? What makes this story so, well, juicy, so discussable?
Like, what are the nuggets someone reviewing this book, maybe for a video or something, would absolutely grab onto? The drama, the surprises, the relatable stuff.
Exactly that, focusing only on what's in these pages you provided.
Okay, so let's get into it. It all seems to start with this unexpected chance for a young journalist, Monique Grant. How do the excerpts set that up?
Well, straight away, we meet Monique, and it's clear this Evelyn Hugo interview isn't something she, or her bosses even, saw coming.
Right. The text mentions her boss saying Monique wasn't one of the 5 big names they pitched. They were kind of shocked Evelyn's team picked her. They came back with this.
Yeah, exactly. And you immediately get Monique's own feelings about it. The text shows her thinking she's not impressed with myself compared to others trying to, change the world while going viral.
Oh, that feeling is so relatable, isn't it?
Oh.
That sort of modern imposter syndrome.
Totally. And the outside world, based on those little social media bits in the sources, seems to agree. You've got people commenting, who is Monique Grant anyway? Boring.
Ouch. Or Evelyn should have chosen you.
Right. So immediately you see Monique positioned as this, well, maybe an underdog. It definitely makes her perspective on Evelyn's story potentially more interesting for the reader.
Okay, so she's got doubts, internal and external. Then she actually meets the icon, Evelyn Hugo. What's that first encounter like in the text?
It's described really vividly. Evelyn apparently says Monique's name like she's known her forever, shakes her hand. But the detail that really lands is Evelyn just saying, I'm Evelyn.
Even though everyone knows who she is.
Exactly. The text calls it a unique form of power. It cuts through the fame, sets a different tone right away.
It feels kind of disarming. And then there's that little bit with the coffee mug.
Oh, yeah. Evelyn takes the mug from Monique to carry it. It seems small, but Monique thinks about charisma being charm that inspires devotion.
And that this small and humble gesture is enchanting.
It's a perfect little snapshot from the text showing how Evelyn operates. It's not just about being famous, it's about presence, maybe even a calculated sort of intimacy. Makes you feel seen.
And Monique's plan is described as wanting to ask a few more questions first, get the lay of the land, promising to focus just on Evelyn, solely on what you're saying and what you mean.
And Evelyn's reaction is quite telling, isn't it? She kind of sighs about the culture being glib now. That's the new thing.
Yeah, a bit jaded.
But the text says Monique's sincerity seems to disarm her ever so briefly, and she lets her begin. That dynamic, the icon and the earnest reporter, it really hooks you, makes you wonder what's going to unfold.
Absolutely. So that's our narrator setup. Now, what about Evelyn's own story, her Hollywood beginnings, based on these excerpts?
The text paints a picture of her early days being, well, strategic. She's cast as Evelyn Hugo, young blonde, doing what she calls dumb, sentimental comedy stuff.
She felt she had no choice sometimes, but her star was rising. Fast.
Yeah.
Mentions the first movie, Father and Daughter.
And right away, the calculation comes in. We meet Harry, her publicist, who becomes a friend, telling her, it would do you some good if things progress past a photo op or two.
The studio wants it, the fans want it?
Yeah, it highlights that pressure immediately. Your personal life, or at least the appearance of one, it's like currency. It's part of the job, performing relationships.
Which leads us, in these sources, to Don Adler. He comes across really charming at first, right? Calling her the most gorgeous woman, saying, that's the girl for me.
And Evelyn feels that pull, that ache to be touched. But the text flips that pretty quickly. It says he was only kind when he was happy.
And only happy when he was winning. Oof. She learns sweet Don was not the only Don.
That contrast, the public charm versus the private difficulty, it's a really strong theme right from the start in these excerpts.
There's that specific story, too, about him stopping the car, getting defensive. I've been a professional actor for longer than you've been alive.
Yeah, and the text links that defensiveness to his agent pushing him towards freelance stuff for big paychecks, it hints that maybe some insecurity about his own career is bubbling under the surface. These little details add layers, you know?
Definitely. Then we get a quick look at Mick Riva. It's brief in these parts, but very pointed.
Oh, absolutely. The scene on the plane where she lets his hand wander and her internal thought process is just laid bare.
He has to ache for you. If he doesn't want you enough, it's all over. You've lost.
It's pure calculation. And then later, in the hotel room, him clean, her smelling like booze, the text explicitly frames it around power. When he says, "Nothing is too much for you," she reads it differently.
It shows her mind always working, doesn't it? Even in those moments, she's thinking about leverage, about power.
Yeah, these early relationships, as shown here, seem so tangled up with her career, with managing her image. They're not just love stories.
Okay, so moving away from those more, let's say, strategic male relationships, the excerpts spend a lot of time on Celia St. James. What do they tell us about that connection?
It feels different right from the first meeting described in the text. It's almost awkward Celia eating toast, admitting, "I have no idea what I'm doing."
And Evelyn's first impression is dismissal.
Wow.
She sees it as an aw shucks routine.
But then Celia calls her out, saying, "That hurts my feelings," and that seems to stop Evelyn in her tracks.
It leads to that moment where Evelyn feels Celia actually sees her, like really sees her, not even Dawn.
And that internal thought is amazing. I like how calculating and awful you kind of are. It's like Celia accepts the complexity, the ambition that others maybe didn't see or want to see.
And Celia sees Evelyn's strength too, telling her, you know what you want and you go after it, calling her a force to be reckoned with. It feels like mutual respect, not just flattery.
Then the excerpts give us these really intimate glimpses of their closeness, hiding out at Celia's place, sleeping chastely side by side at first.
But then that unspoken intimacy, the lingering touches, feeling her body close at night.
Eventually sleeping cradling each other, talking in the dark, tracing palms. These specific physical details build such a strong sense of connection without needing big dramatic speeches.
And they even risk that public moment, her birthday at the Polo Lounge. Hiding in plain sight, as the text says.
Which tells you something about the times, right? And the gossip column snippet confirms it. Evelyn Hugo and Celia St. James slumber parties. How close is too close? The press sniffed around.
But Evelyn notes they were too happy to believe the lie I was selling them. The narrative of her being unable to keep a husband was easier, maybe.
Seems like it. But then comes the conflict, the separation. And the text describes it as absolutely brutal, Celia's words.
Calling her a coward, saying she did whatever it was for you, for Evelyn, because she can't stand the idea of not being the most famous woman on the planet.
Accusing her of protecting fans who just want to see her tits? Oof. And that line, "You didn't do a goddamn thing for me. You did it to protect yourself." That's raw.
It really lays bare that central tension in Evelyn's life, as presented here, ambition versus love, public image versus private truth.
And you feel Evelyn's pain afterwards. The text says she was miserable, hung up on her for years, even scanning gossip mags like Sub Rosa for Celia's picture.
There's also that interesting bit about identity, Evelyn hating when Celia called her a lesbian.
Yeah, feeling it was too black and white, that it denied the rest of her experiences, like having genuinely loved Don Adler once, or enjoying sex with men.
And the source has that context. People were just starting to talk about the idea of bisexuality, but I'm not sure I even understood that the word referred to me then. That nuance feels really important and, frankly, very modern and relatable.
Definitely. Then the sources show their reconciliation years later, that moment in the bathroom at the Oscars.
Celia saying, "Mine either," about pretending to be happy for someone else winning.
And her eyes softening when she sees Evelyn feeling lost in her. It's like no time has passed.
And the letters mentioned later asking, do you think lovers can ever be friends? Celia being honest about her health, the COPD, it adds depth to their later bond.
It's just undeniable from these excerpts. The Celia relationship is the emotional core, isn't it? The passion, the hiding, the fights, the enduring love. It's incredibly powerful stuff.
Absolutely. Okay, so besides Celia, Harry Cameron emerges as another really key figure, more than just a publicist.
Oh, much more. The text describes him as being like me, meaning Evelyn, in it for the glory, driven by ego initially, but then finding his humanity.
And Evelyn flat out calls him and Celia her two favorite people. That tells you a lot right there.
Their marriage, as presented, is fascinating. It's framed as this partnership. We could be great for each other, wanting a companion, a family.
Harry's very honest about it too, isn't he? I can't give you everything, I know that, but I want to raise a family and I'd love to raise one with you.
It's pragmatic, yeah, but seems based on real affection and shared goals. Not romantic love, maybe, but a deep bond. And they work to sell it.
Like that paparazzi moment Harry staged. Grabbing her, kissing her, slowly, passionately, slipping his hand down her dress right when the photographer was there.
I saw the image. And the text reveals Harry had his own secrets, too. Doing what I do. Discreetly, of course, knowing that a lot of people in town knew he was gay.
So they both understood needing to hide parts of themselves. That shared understanding must have strengthened their bond. There's also that line about their jobs conflicting sometimes.
Right, Harry needing to make the studio money while someone else just wants to make Dawn happy. It hints at all those complicated loyalties behind the scenes.
Then the excerpts jump to later years with Harry and their daughter Connor, and Harry is really struggling after Celia dies.
Yeah, the text says grief never left his face. He's drinking, staying in bed. Evelyn tries to help by finding him work, knowing he'd do things for her he wouldn't do for himself.
And that heartbreaking detail of Connor asking, "Daddy, why do your eyes look wet?" Evelyn not knowing if it was crying or drinking.
It paints such a sad picture, and then comes the accident. The sources are very direct about the cover-up.
Evelyn getting Nick, the driver, to help move Harry into their car.
And then forcing Nick to help put the other man, the one who died, back into the driver's seat of the totaled car.
God. And the detail of her wiping everything down with a scarf. Wipe the steering wheel clean. Wipe the blood. Wipe the seatbelt. I erase all traces of Harry.
Chilling. Harry dies soon after. Evelyn has that devastating luxury of panic. Then Nick calls, "I know what I want."
And Evelyn's fix is immediate. Calling Don Adler, telling him to hire Nick in his next movie, the biggest part you can get him. Paying for silence.
It's just stark. The extreme measures taken to protect their secrets with devastating results.
But then the sources reveal this massive twist involving Monique's own father. Evelyn found a letter in Harry's pocket that night.
Right. She thinks maybe that letter is why Harry was drinking so heavily. And she tells Monique she found great peace in her own daughter knowing the truth about her, and she wants to give Monique the truth about her dad.
Saying things like, "He was willing to turn down romantic love in order to stand by your side. Do you know what an amazing father you had?"
It's incredibly moving. But then you see Monique reeling from it in the taxi, as described in the text. Does she tell her mom?
Does she trade one painful story, him dying drunk driving, for another? That he was having an affair with Harry when he died?
It connects Evelyn's huge dramatic story right back to Monique's personal life in this shocking, intimate way. It makes Monique part of the story she's uncovering.
Okay, so the story also touches on Max Gerard later on. What do the excerpts say about him?
He's someone she knew from before. The text says he was always too overt in his interest, too salacious. Celia apparently called him Pepe Le Pew.
Huh. But Celia also suggested Evelyn work with him again because the man makes good movies. Yeah. Pragmatic Celia.
Mm-hmm. But the real drama with Max, shown in the sources, is when he finds Celia's letters. His reaction is just ugly.
What I can't believe is that you were a dyke. Repeating it even after she says she's leaving him for Celia. I love her. I always have.
It just highlights the hostility and lack of understanding she faced, totally different from the partnership she had with Harry, for example. Shows the kind of judgment that forced her into secrecy.
The excerpts also give us Evelyn's perspective on her later career, dealing with Hollywood and aging, like not getting the Oscar nomination for 3 a.m.
Yeah, she felt it was because the movie was scandalous, too explicit, even though she thought she was great, really exceptional in it.
And her take on it is so sharp. They blamed the sex bot they'd created, whom they could now call a tramp. They weren't going to give me an Oscar for that.
Totally calls out the hypocrisy, right? And she talks about hitting 50, competing with new generation of actresses, all gorgeous, that feeling of falling short.
Roles drying up, being offered mother roles for women, literally half my age.
Her assessment is pretty blunt in the text. Life in Hollywood is a bell curve. I had prolonged my time at the top, but I'd come around the corner now, and they were all but putting me out to pasture.
It's a tough reality, especially in that industry.
But interestingly, the sources show her reconnecting with her Cuban roots later in life, speaking Spanish at home, sharing it, finding that part of herself was still there.
Which is such a contrast to how the text describes her earlier choices, deliberately erasing her heritage. No pictures of my family, no Latin American books, blonde hairs in her brush, no cumin.
Wow. Sacrificing that core identity to fit the mold, to become the star. And her reason for telling the story now in a book. The text says she realized it was the only time anyone would know anything true about my life. taking back her own narrative.
Monique's final view of her at the photo shoot kind of sums it all up, doesn't it? Seeing her as painfully human, but also still the center of the universe.
Commanding attention even near 80. Monique concludes she simply has it. A star is always and forever a star. Maybe it wasn't just looks or strategy, but something innate.
And Evelyn's own final reflections in these excerpts. Her dad's advice shaping her whole life. Always going after what she wanted with everything in me.
But then that really dark, cynical take on what it cost, saying you have to be willing to deny your heritage, to commodify your body, to lie, sacrifice who you love, choose the false version of yourself time and time again.
Until you forget who you were or why you started. That's a heavy final thought from her.
It really is.
So stepping back from all these details in the excerpts,
Well,
what a story. The ambition, the loves, especially Celia and Harry, the secrets, the identity struggles, the sheer force of will.
yeah, you can absolutely see why this story, even just from these pieces, is so compelling. It digs into ambition, sacrifice, what's real versus what's performed, the price of fame. So much to unpack.
It makes you really think about celebrity and the stories people construct versus the lives they actually lead.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought just based on these sources we looked at. Evelyn says, I've always gone after what I wanted with everything in me. Considering everything the text says she sacrificed, heritage, body, truth, love, her true self, was that relentless pursuit a kind of freedom? Or did she just build herself a different kind of cage in the end? What do you think, looking at these pieces of her story?
Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.
If you like the video, please subscribe Enchanting Audiobooks for more.